What do you think? Now you can tell me. What do you think is the most important thing that we have to think about when we start writing speech? Anyone? You can just raise your hand and tell me. Yes?
Giving a speech and by dividing them in specific parts.
Okay. So organization of the speech. Okay. Yeah.
Introduction.
Introduction. Okay. Yes.
Proper language.
Language. Okay. Yeah. You would also raise your hand. No. Okay. Anyone else? All right. So yeah.
Maybe having a catchy start.
Having a catchy start. Okay. Yes.
Body language.
Body language. Okay. All right. So some very important points, but there is one even more important point that we forgot, which is extremely important when we think about a speech. That is audience. Right? There can't be a speech without an audience to listen to the speech. Correct? So now when we think about the audience, when we want to give a speech, we need to first think about who the people sitting in the audience are going to be. Correct? So for example, if I am going to be giving a speech on, say, how to advance in your career, how to plan your career to a group of retired people, why would they want to listen to me? Right? Because it's not something that is of interest to any of them. Correct? So that is why when we start thinking about the idea for a speech, the first thing that we need to think about is who are the people sitting in the audience? Are they going to be interested in what I have to say? Because if it is not something that they want to listen to, then what is the point of me coming up here and speaking? Right? So the first important point that we have to think about is who are the people sitting in the audience and what are their needs? What do they want from me as a speaker? What is it that I can give to the audience as a speaker? Alright, so that is the first point that we have to think about. Everyone is clear on this? Alright, now the second point. Now we talked about understanding what the audience needs, right? So what can come next? Can you tell me? Now you have understood what the audience needs. You have an idea of who the people are going to be, the people that are going to be sitting in front of you. You know what they need. So what will you think about next? Any ideas? Yes?
While the opening of the speech, we should speak nice and fully.
Okay. So that is
so that people can concentrate in this.
right. You will get their attention basically.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah. You?
Same point.
Okay, getting their attention. Alright. But now these are all points that will come when we actually start delivering the speech, or when we have an idea about the speech in mind, correct? Right? But all this comes in later once we have the idea. So the second thing that we need to do once we have a clear idea of the audience in mind is the purpose. Correct? What is it that I as a speaker want the audience to understand? What do I as a speaker want the audience to do? Now for example, I am speaking here today. Now what my purpose as a speaker is to help all of us understand the basic elements of a good speech. Correct? So as a speaker, that is my purpose. So if I don't have my purpose clear in mind, how can I expect the audience to understand it, right? So for me as a speaker, first thing I need to know is what is my purpose as a speaker, so that all of you as the audience members will get to understand what is that. Okay? So second point is the purpose of my speech. So once this session is done, ideally as audience members, what is my idea? That all of you, once you go home, can say that after listening to this session, I got to understand the basic elements of a good speech. Right? So that is my purpose as a speaker today. So that is the second point. Now, once we have an idea of the audience, once we have an idea of the purpose of the speech, the third thing that we have to do is gather all the information, all the points that we need to deliver to the audience. Now, if I'm once again taking this example, if I'm going to talk about the elements of a good speech, and if I don't know, how can I tell it to you? Right? So I need to gather my information, I need to gather all the things that I want to convey to you properly. Now along with this, there are some more things that we can do, which is where some of you shared the points, right, about getting the audience's attention, making them want to listen to you all. So that is where this comes in. So something simple that we can do to get the audience's attention, like you said, is maybe a simple joke, a dialogue, an anecdote. Just have a collection of these ready so that you can have some specific points in your presentation, in your speech, where you can put those in. Alright? So this is where you gather information, you gather statistics, you gather dialogues, you gather anecdotes. So all of this is something that you do in preparation for your speech. Okay? So that is the third point. Now we come to the fourth point, which is what a lot of you said, that is the opening of the speech. Correct? Now the opening ideally is something where we want to grab everyone's attention. Right? Because in the first few seconds, the audience will decide what it is that you want to say and whether they want to listen to you or not. Correct? So something simple that you can do in the opening is, say I'm giving a speech about chocolates. So then what I can do is give some stunning statistic about chocolates, that suppose in the next 5 years there is going to be some disease where all the chocolate, the cocoa beans, the plants that give cocoa beans, they are going to be wiped out and we are not going to be able to have chocolates. Now of course that's not true, but you know, if that is something that is a part of my speech and I tell you that, what does it do? It's something that immediately gets the audience's attention. It's something different, it's something that they have not heard before. So they are now hooked. Hooked is what the word we use, right? You have a hook where a hook catches onto something and then that thing can't leave easily. So that's why we call it a hook, where the audience is now hooked onto your words, to what you want to say. Right? So this can be done through a wide variety of ways. Something as simple, like I said, a statistic, numbers, a joke, a dialogue, anything. Now once this is clear, ideally within the first few sentences, you want to convey to the audience what it is that you are going to do for them. Right? So for example, when I started off, Swapna told you what this session is going to be. When I started off, I also told you what this session is going to be. So that you know what it is that you are going to get through this session. Right? So that everyone is clear on those points. Right? So let's quickly revise the 4 points. Can anyone tell me what we discussed so far? We discussed 4 points, right? Yeah. Yes? You raise your hand? Okay. Yes.
Understanding the group of audience.
Correct. Perfect. 1 point. Second point. Yes.
We should understand what we are talking.
Correct. So our purpose, right? And gathering the information and statistics, right? Third point. Yeah.
Getting their attention.
Correct. Right. So anyone else? All right. Perfect. So understanding the audience in front of us, understanding our purpose as a speaker, getting the required information, statistics, whatever it is that we want to convey to the audience in place, and having a good opening. So these are the 4 points that we discussed so far. Now the next point. Now I think someone mentioned about the body of the speech, some specific ideas that we want to convey. So we talked about the opening. The next part of the speech is the body. Now let's say we have a 5 to 7 minute speech. Alright. Now in a 5 to 7 minute speech, how many points do you think you can convey to the audience? Any idea? Just any number. You can tell me any number that you can think of, which you think, yeah.
About 6 to 7.
Okay.
Just elaboration on those points.
Okay, 6 to 7. Any other numbers? Yeah.
10 to 12.
10 to 12. Okay. Alright. Now, in a 5 to 7 minute speech, we will have, say, maybe a minute or so that will go in the opening of the speech. Correct? Now, in the body of the speech, that's where you are going to convey the main points. The third part, which I am still yet to come to, is the conclusion. So let's say 1 more minute is going to be gone there. So you have maybe just, say, on an average 4 to 5 minutes left. Correct? Now then you can think about how many points you can convey in 4 to 5 minutes along with sufficient elaboration. Typically, what we try to do is we stick to the number 3. 3 is a number that has a very special relationship for the human mind. 3 sticks. 3 things always, even if you think of it in many different contexts, you have 3 God, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, right? 3. Everywhere you look, you will also always find triads. That's what we call. A group of 3 is called a triad. So that is also something that we can utilize, that we can leverage in our speech to ensure that people remember what it is that we are going to say. Okay? So if we have 3 points, just 3 crisp, clear points, you can also have sufficient time to speak on each point. Right? Because you don't just want to mention each point, you also want to explain, you want to talk about it more so that everyone gets it. Alright? So that is what I mean by structuring the body of your speech. Okay. Third part, what comes next after the body? Conclusion. Perfect. Now the conclusion. Why is the conclusion necessary? Yeah.
End the paragraph easily.
End the paragraph easily. Okay. Anyone else? Any other ideas on why we need a conclusion? Yes.
To end the speech that we have started from first.
Correct. Yes.
I think that if we just end on like the main body, it will sound maybe a little abrupt. And to
Right.
finish it on a high note, we have the conclusion.
Perfect. So we want to finish this. We don't want the ending of our speech to be something that is abrupt. We want a smooth ending. That's why we have an opening to have a smooth start, and that's why we have a conclusion to have a smooth ending to the speech. Now, one more very important reason for having a conclusion in the speech is because a lot of times people are going to forget, right? In a 5 to 7 minute speech, you hear the things that are said more or less only one time, right? Now, if you hear something only one time, is it always necessary that you will remember everything? No, right? So that's why the conclusion. So in your conclusion, what you can do, what you can emphasize on is these are the key points that I want you as a speaker and I want you as the audience to remember. This is what I wanted to convey to you. This is my summary. So that is something that can come as a part of your conclusion. So you can quickly summarize the points that you wanted to convey to the audience, right? So a summary for right now, when I talked about the structure of a speech, is once again just a simple summary for this. Is first point we need to focus on is the audience that we have in front of us. Second is our purpose as a speaker, what we want to convey to the audience. Third is gathering the required information for the speech. Fourth is having a catchy, attention-grabbing opening. Fifth, having a proper body structure for the speech. Ideally, if it's a 5 to 7 minute speech with 3 points. And lastly, conclusion, where you have a summary to it. Correct? Now, what I said right now is also a summary of what I said up till this point for this session as well. Right? Make sense? Right? So, even for you, you might have forgotten those points. Right? Whatever I said right now, those 7 points that I said, you might have forgotten those. So it helps you also as an audience member to hear them once again. Right? Repetition is how we learn. Correct? So these are the basic points about structuring a speech. Now what comes next after you have written a speech? All of this was just writing a speech. What comes next? You have written a speech now. Ready? Yeah?
To prepare the speech.
Correct. Perfect. So once you have written the speech, the next part that comes is the most obvious part, that is preparing the speech, because you have to come and give the speech, right? You don't just prepare a speech to write on paper, it's supposed to be delivered in front of people, right? So preparation. Now once you have all this structure ready, once you have a script ready, this is where the preparation part comes in. Now if you remember one point that I spoke about before is try not to learn the speech entirely by heart, correct? Why? We already know that. Can someone tell me why? Yes?
Because the speech should not look like a paragraph, it should be in points.
Perfect. That is one point. Yeah.
Also, if you forget one thing, then the whole other thing goes crashing.
Right. Yes. So that's why it's best to not learn everything by heart. Once you have the structure of ideas ready in your mind, then you won't forget. It's easy to forget sentences. It's easy to forget words, but you don't forget ideas. Right? So that's why it's best to have a structure of ideas in mind rather than having specific sentences. Now, even right now, I've been speaking for 14 minutes. Do you think I learned it by heart? No, right? I just have these ideas in my mind. That's how. So I won't forget these ideas. I might forget words, but I'm not going to forget these ideas. So that's the preparation aspect. Now, once you have prepared your speech, what next? Yeah?
Maybe after reading it, we can incorporate some voice modulations into it.
Perfect. So that is the delivery. Yeah.
So, actions.
Right. Gestures. Right. So that is where we come now to the actual delivery of the speech. Now you come up here and actually give the speech in front of the audience. Now 3 things to think about when we say that a speech is to be delivered. Right? Because you are not just going to come out and read. Right? That is body, three ideas, humor, anecdote, statistics, summarize them, define and take up. That is not what we do for a speech. We want people to listen to us, right? We don't come out and read a speech, we deliver a speech. So first thing that you already said is gestures. What am I doing with my hands, right? Those are gestures. Gestures, it's just something that helps to add impact to our words. For example, something as simple as listing out things. When I said audience, that's the first point to keep in mind. Purpose, that is the second thing to keep in mind. Gathering information, third thing to keep in mind. Its gestures can be something as simple as this, where you list out points that you want to talk about, where you count those points that you want to talk about. Alright? Gestures can be as simple as that. Next. What is this?
Stage.
Stage. Perfect. So, use of the stage. Now, the use of the stage is again something that needs to be done properly. Now, just this does not mean stage use, right? Just walking across the stage does not mean I'm using the stage. Alright? Ideally, the best thing that we can do for stage use at the start, there is no need to focus on something that might not come as naturally. Right? So stage use is not something that can come very naturally when you're starting off as a speaker. It's something that you can gradually develop. A simple marker to think about when you use the phrase stage use is that when you change points in your speech, we talked about 3 points in the body, correct? So a simple thing is have each point given from a different side of the stage. So if I'm going to talk about 3 different things, then this is my first, second, and then third. Stage use can be something as simple as this, alright? And the third is once again a point that was mentioned is about our voice, right? Vocal variety. Now, once again, if I'm going to speak audience match topic, audience needs specific purpose, then what is less boring, correct? Now, this is where the aspect of vocal variety comes in. Now, in every speech, emotion is something that is very important, correct? Emotions that we want to convey to the audience, right? When you are, say, talking about a story, if you have, say, a story like Little Red Riding Hood, for example. Now, in any story, some story has a sad part, a story has a happy part, a story has a part of excitement, correct? So these are the different things that come out through a story. And every point that comes out in the story needs to be delivered that way. Now, if it's something, say it's a sad point in the story, I can't give that sad point saying, hey, that character was very, very sad, right? Why? It makes no sense, right? For you as an audience member, if that's how I'm going to talk about the sad part of the story, it doesn't make sense. So when it's something sad, naturally, voice goes down. If it's a happy point in the story, same thing. I can't say, Red Riding Hood is very happy. Once again, you won't believe me, right? I also need to show you that she was actually happy. So there needs to be a smile on my face, my voice needs to be higher. That's where the voice comes in, where the emotion that is there at that point in the story should also match with my voice as a speaker. Alright? So the 3 points we talked about delivery, can anyone tell me? Quick revision. Yes?
Because behind the speech,
Okay.
we have to keep only ideas.
Okay, that is one. Yeah.
Stage.
Stage use, right?
Use gestures and voice modulation.
Okay, so you covered 2 points already. Yeah. Alright, yes. So the 3 points that we talked about delivery were gestures, voice modulation, and the use of the stage. This point, one more point was about preparation, about keeping the ideas in mind. Alright, rather than specific words or sentences. Alright. Everyone's clear on these aspects. I think we are now just reaching near the end of 20 minutes. So we'll have the next session. Now, if you have any other questions, all the points that I gave till now are clear.